It's Kentucky Derby weekend, and while Classic Empire may be the favored horse on the racetrack, which bourbon will emerge as the winning weekend sip? Here with his pick is WSJ's Charles Passy. Hi, Charles.
Hey, happy Derby weekend.
Happy Derby weekend. So we know that the signature sip for Kentucky is the bourbon. Is that why you can't think of the Derby without drinking bourbon?
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky is where a lot of bourbon is made. Now, by law, not all bourbon has to come from Kentucky, but they make a lot of it in Kentucky.
So this particular brand, Four Roses, has a little bit of a history. Can you tell us about it?
Well, I mean, 30s, 40s, 50s, I mean, I'm talking almost a century ago, this was America's bourbon. It was a really popular brand, and then it basically disappeared, partly because bourbon was no longer as popular. People started drinking vodka, and they had one distiller there who was like, I want to bring it back to America. I want to bring it back to America. They were selling it in Europe and Asia. And he did, and it's taken off again.
And it turns out that they positioned themselves well to take advantage of the bourbon boom.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Their timing couldn't have been better. I mean, they were sort of thinking about this, but the truth is America was thinking about it. I mean, bourbon sales have been skyrocketing in the last few years. It's sort of become the millennial sip, that and rye. And we're talking, you know, growth of, I think, something like 35% over the last 5 years alone. And I mean, brands frankly tell me that they are running out of their supplies at this point.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And Four Roses, or this particular one that we're drinking today, is not a particularly high-end bourbon?
No, I mean, this is a $19 bottle. I mean, you have a lot of these kind of specialty bourbons. Four Roses makes some higher-end bourbons, but this is their classic one. And I think it's a very good, sort of solid, kind of budget-friendly bourbon.
And how is it meant to be?
Well, we're having it neat.
Okay.
This happens to be a bourbon that mixes extremely well. A lot of sophisticated whiskey types will tell you this is a mixing bourbon. I think it's enjoyed fine neat. And let's give it a shot.
Thank you, Charles. Cheers. You know me. I'm not a huge brown liquor drinker,
right,
but I like this.
Yeah.
It's drinkable.
It's very approachable. I mean, what this reminds me of, it's kind of easy to sip, and it has kind of a nice, sort of subtle sweetness, which is what bourbon is about. Bourbon is made primarily from corn, and so you get that kind of corn richness, sweetness in it. Again, not a complex bourbon, but I think a very good bourbon.
And with the Kentucky Derby coming up, isn't the mint julep also the signature drink?
The mint julep, this will make a fine mint julep. They will tell you that, but they tell me that it makes a better old-fashioned or Manhattan even. So something to play around with.
As you will. Have a great Kentucky Derby weekend.
Cheers.
Charles, cheers.